Hey everyone, I'm Colin Smith from photoshopCAFE, and today we're going to be looking at the camera that everybody's talking about. This is the Insta360 Luna. So this camera was given to me to test out from Insta360, but this is not a sponsored video nor a paid video, and I'm not contractually obliged to say or not say anything. So for those of you who are new to gimbal cameras, they're really quite revolutionary in the sense that you can use them and get beautifully stable footage and photos without using a tripod. And I'd be amiss if I don't show you the competitor's one here, which is the Pocket from DJI. This really changed trade shows for me because instead of carrying a bigger camera rig with a mic and all that kind of stuff, I was able to record everything with this little camera. Now there's a couple of shortfalls on this camera. One is it didn't really have any zoom to speak of, and the other thing is the quality was good enough. I mean, I'd like to have seen it better, but it was good enough. And I've used this little camera for a while and really enjoyed it. So I got very excited when I first saw the Insta360 Luna. This solves a lot of the problems. And you can see it's quite a bit bigger than the Pocket 3. Now the Pocket 4 is the same as this. There's a Pocket 4 Pro coming up, but won't be available in the United States. Essentially what you do is you just turn the screen and this is gonna turn it on. If you've ever tried to walk with a camera, which I have in the, doing vlogging and stuff in airports, and try and keep that smooth and still, it's really, really difficult. Now in the past I would use things like dollies and other equipment, things like steady cams, but for the last few years, gimbals have kind of taken over, and we're able to get some very sophisticated shots using this equipment. Now this little piece of gear I've got in my hand is really a capable filmmaking tool. So this is something you could be using very, very quickly and easily to get very professional looking shots. You could be vlogging, you could be shooting events. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. And with the Luna Ultra right here, we've got some very professional specs on here. And let's talk about these specs that we have. So first of all, you would have noticed there's two lenses. So the main lens here is a Leica Summicron lens, an 8K sensor, an f1.8 at 20 millimeters, and also supports Dolby Vision HDR. This has 14 stops of dynamic range. And so the second one is a telephoto lens at f2, and it's a 1/1.3 sensor. So the native settings on these is 1x and 3x. So the 1x is the equivalent of a 20 millimeter. The 3x is the equivalent of a 60 millimeter, which is the starting place for the zoom lens. Now, if you go up to 6x, you can take that up to 120 equivalent, or shoot to the 12x, which is the equivalent of 240 millimeters. Now, you're going to start to lose some quality at 240, but they say it goes up to the 6x as lossless zoom. 3 times, which is optical. They say it can go 6 times without loss, so let's go back to 6. How's that look to you? 3. Let's go to a 2 and then 1. So that's on our regular wide lens. 1x, that's a regular lens. It's 2. 3. It's 6. And this in middle lens 12. It's still a digital zoom, but it's using AI to preserve the quality and the image fidelity. Now, as far as using these lenses, there's a couple of different ways that we can zoom. We can tap on the screen here, and that's a good way to just go from the 1 to the 2x. The 2x is still using that main camera, but it's just digitally zooming it into 2x. We can tap again, we can go into 3x. Tap again, it goes to 6, and tap again, it goes all the way up to the 12. Now, another way that we can do it is there's a rocker switch here, and we can push up on that rocker switch, and then we can dynamically zoom. So rather than snapping to that magnification, we can zoom in and out. And this is nice if you want to actually do a dynamic zoom without moving forward and you just want to kind of zoom the camera. You can do that. Now be aware when it hits 3x, it switches cameras. So you will notice that a little glitch as it goes into the second camera when it goes between the first and second. So I would recommend if you're doing a dynamic zoom, I would start on the second camera and then you can get a nice smooth zoom in and out. Switching between cameras, you're going to get that little bump. Now, another way that you can zoom in is actually interesting. It's the same as what you would get on your iPhone. And that's if you click and hold, this little wheel appears, and then you can scroll up and down on the touch screen here, and then you can go in and out and zoom that way as well. And because you have a gimbal, if you want to zoom, a better thing is, if you can, is to actually just move the camera closer to the subject, and you've got a gimbal, so you're going to get a beautiful kind of a look that way, and you can control the speed and the way you kind of move in a more creative way. Okay, so let's talk about resolution. What can we do in resolution here? This camera goes all the way up to 8K. We can shoot at 8K Dolby Vision using the main camera, and that is shooting in 10-bit HDR. And to change resolution, we just simply swipe up, and then we can go 8K, we can do 4K up to 120 frames per second. We can do 1080 all the way up to 240 frames per second if you want to get some really good slow-mo. So if we hit the shutter speed, we can go in here and we can manually change the shutter speed. So when you are using this shutter speed, of course, we can freeze motion, or we can blur motion by changing that shutter speed. It's also super useful for things like, when I go to trade shows, for example, one of them, I was looking at this holographic where they've got these spinning propellers, and it gives you this holographic look. If you don't shoot it with the right frame rate, you just see these spinning propellers, you don't see the result. So being able to choose that manual shutter speed allows you to sync with a lot of moving things to look correctly. So if you go to the side here and you go between the basic mode, which is, just kind of point and shoot, or you can go into the pro mode where you have a lot more control over a lot of different things that we'll look at in a moment as well. But when we go here, we can shoot in 10-bit in 3 different ways. We can do standard, we can do Dolby Vision HDR, or we can go in and we can use iLOG, which is Insta360's log. So most of the footage I'm showing here, I'm shooting in iLOG. And the reason for that is I can preserve the dynamic range. This gives you 14 stops of dynamic range. What it does is it just kind of lowers the contrast and the color and enables you to capture more detail in the highlights and the shadows. And now you can very quickly apply a LUT inside of Premiere Pro or DaVinci, and then it brings back the color. So the nice thing about shooting in log is it gives you that flexibility in post-production. When you're doing color grading and you're doing that work, you've got the extra dynamic range to play around with where you're just not blowing anything out. But now if you don't want to be doing a lot of post-production or color correction, you can shoot in standard mode, or you can shoot in the Dolby Vision HDR mode. And the Dolby Vision works in Rec 2020, whereas the standard is Rec 709. Now, if you do decide to shoot in those modes, we do have some nice color modes, which, by the way, these color modes can also be layered on top of log. If we go on there, we've got a beauty setting, which will add softness, some skin softening, and you can control that. But then when we go under the default settings here, we've got different colors. Leica, so we've got Leica Natural, we've got Leica Vivid, Chrome, Positive Film, Negative Film. We've got different ones, and then we've also got some extra film kind of looks in here as well. And all these color effects can be applied onto the footage, so we can give it that beautiful filmic look directly in camera if that's the way you prefer to work. Now, what I would say is maybe the most outstanding feature on here is we've got this beautiful 2-inch OLED touchscreen. Now, we can change all our different settings and things like that in here. We can change our camera settings, modes. Works very much like a lot of the other Insta360 menus. But there's something really special about this. If I squeeze here, I can pop the screen off. And now I can do remote shooting with this. And I can control it remotely. And this has a 20 meter, which is about 66 feet range of remote control. Now think about all the things you can do with this. And so the nice thing about using this remote is I'm in the car, I've just propped this against the door, and normally I wouldn't know what it looked like, but I can reframe it just by moving the joystick here. And now I can look directly at it. If I want to zoom in a little bit, I can do a 2x. And as you can see there, I can reframe the camera, which is really nice. So if you're a solo shooter, you can position this, you can zoom, you can frame your shot beautifully, you can stop recording. Yes, these controls on the screen work remotely as well. So we've got a rocker switch for zooming in and out. We've got the joystick for moving the camera around, and then we've got the start and stop button. Plus we have all the controls here on the touch screen still work just as well in the remote as they would in some of the other settings. Plus we've got 2 programmable buttons here. On top of that, when I'm using the remote, it also has a built-in microphone. So I can actually be talking into this, and I'll show you what it sounds like. All right, so now I'm testing with the internal audio, that's the built-in. So now I'm talking into this mic to see how that sounds. Another thing I love is if I just tap on the top here, it shows me the battery that is on the camera and the battery on the gimbal currently. So that's really easy to do, and just tap away to stop it. Now, if you want to shoot in vertical mode, you can have it where you flip the screen, or you can program one of the buttons to do that. Now, the camera is not going to rotate. It's going to keep shooting, and you can shoot vertical. It's going to crop in, and you can shoot up to 3K on those verticals, which is plenty for Instagram, TikTok, things like that for social media. Now, if you want to shoot wider, I've just put it here inside this case. There's an attachment here where we can pop this over the top, and we can magnetically attach it here. And now this widens our field of view. Another one of my favorite features is this has 47 gigabyte internal storage. Yes, if you've forgotten your card or you don't have a card on you, you can record directly in here. Of course, the other thing, you're going to have faster processing speed with the internal storage than you would using a card. Now, if you want to use a card, you can pop it open here, and we have a micro SD slot, and you can put a micro SD card in there, and you can choose whether you want to record internally onto the card. And then when you're dumping the footage, you could just pull out the card or just attach it to the USB-C slot, so you can access your internal memory and download all your footage to your computer. Now, one of the challenges of these type of cameras is battery life. And so the previous one that I've used here, I struggled with the battery because it really wouldn't last very long. This one here, the battery will last up to 4 hours. But the really cool thing about it, it has a fast charge, so we can get 80% in 23 minutes. Now, one of the things that's cool too is because it just charges through the USB-C, so while I'm driving around in my car, I just plug it in. And there are accessories like the battery handle, and I got the creator kit, which comes with this battery handle, which just kind of snaps on. And then so this battery handle has a battery inside it, which can charge the camera while you're working with it and give you extra time. I like to use this handle most of the time just because of the form factor. It's much more comfortable to use it like this and to hold it. And of course, you know, it has a 1/4-20 on the bottom, so if you want to attach it to a tripod, but it also has a built-in. We've got these these 3 little wire pieces that pop out. And now it's got its own built-in tripod. It can shoot a 200 megapixel photographic panorama, and I can just put it on there, boom, start it, and away it goes. Now, if you're worried about not bumping the camera when you hit the start button, just take it off. The other thing about this is now when I'm in selfie mode, it just opens up a lot of creative possibilities. Now let's go a little bit further on that. Another accessory that this comes with, and I believe all the packages come with it, is a little battery handle. So there's a little handle here, which fits on there. This does not have a battery in it, but one of the advantages it does do is if you look at the bottom of this, the USB is there. When we pop this on, this gives us access to using the USB in a horizontal way rather than vertical. But the other thing is we can attach it to things like selfie sticks and tripods. And I just leave this on here because if I want to use a camera, I can just snap it on, snap it off, at any time. So I can work handheld, snap it off, attach it on here. This one also has a little wire tripod on the bottom of it as well. But I'm using the Insta360 selfie stick here. This is the extra long, ridiculously long selfie stick. Look at this thing. I'm gonna go past the camera. I'm way past the camera right now. I'm literally tapping the wall on the other side of the room right now. Yeah. So I like to put it on here and think about that. Now I can do fake drone shots. I can move it around. There's a lot of different things I can do with the camera. And because I've got the touch, because I've got the screen and the joystick, I can get the camera way up there. I can reframe things. Sometimes you're sitting in a position, there's obstacles blocking what you want to shoot. Just pop it on here, pop it up, reframe it, and now you're looking over fences, getting around obstacles, looking over people's heads. Maybe, you know, you're at an event and there's all these people in the way. Just pop this up, away you go. So let's just talk about the photo specs really quickly. On standard, it shoots 9 megapixel photos. But if you want higher resolution, we can do 37 megapixel ultra raw, or we can do auto panoramic or scenic panoramic, which is up to 200 megapixels, where you just put the camera down or put it on a tripod, and then it will shoot all the different sections together, stitch it together for you in camera, and create this beautiful 200 megapixel image. And as far as photo, it shoots in JPEG, and it also has a DNG RAW. And a couple of pro features. If you're working with multiple cameras, this supports timecode. Yep, that's right. And it also has support for the ACES workspace for working with HDR. Okay, so one of the things I really love is the tracking feature that this has in here. If you've been familiar with Insta360's products, they've had deeptrack for a little while. And it's working really well in here. Okay, so I find the object in front of me. So you can tap or draw a square around it and that will select it. It's tracking my face, which means if I pull this out on the stick, it should technically keep me in the middle. Now I can also change where it frames me. So I'm just going to tap there, and then the joystick I can choose like maybe the bottom, so I want to go lower. So let's choose that. And now it's going to track me lower in the shot. Let's change it to different. Let's track higher. So now it's tracking me higher in the shot. So it's putting me higher in the frame as I move this around. And right now I'm centered too. I can put it off to the side if I want. So maybe I want to go to the top left. Well, I should go to the top right because there's more interesting stuff to the other side. That's where the beach is. So let's try that. And notice now it's changed my framing where I'm now on that side. So I have actual 9 points that I can choose there, what I want for the framing. So if you tap on the bottom left, you can see we've got different modes. So we've got video, we've got photo, we can take photographs. We've got pano, and we have two options here. We can shoot a 360-degree panorama, or we can do the 200 megapixel photograph, which is going to put together 24 photos and create this really nice large pano. We can do time shift, which is like a time lapse, but it would be like more of a motion lapse where we're moving the camera and it's taking shots during an interval. And then time lapse, where you just put the camera down, have it record, everything unfolds in front of it, compresses time, creates that. Then we've got slow motion. And this can go up to 120 frames per second in 4K slow-mo. Then we've got pure video for shooting in low light. Pure video uses a 3 AI chip configuration to reduce the noise and get really good clean footage in a low light situation. So this is great, for outdoors, going around at night, or indoors where you got a little bit of light. It's not pitch black, but it's going to create very good clean footage for that. Other things that we can do is we swipe down. This is where our settings are. Then we've got all our different settings, you know, brightness, sound, all that kind of stuff. Here we can choose if we want to shoot in landscape, portrait, or auto switch. So when we choose the auto switch, that means when we rotate the screen, it's going to change the orientation. So if you're going to be shooting in vertical a lot, change that setting to auto and then flip the screen. It will go vertical, flip the screen again, it will go horizontal. When you flip the screen here, you can change the mode or you can have it shut down. So if you're not really doing vertical, don't put that in auto, then you can just shut that screen here and it will shut the camera down if that's how you like to work. Couple of notable ones. We can change the video bitrate from standard to high. High goes up to 150 megabits per second. So if you're looking for that really high quality, you can do that. Another thing that's worth noting is we've got the custom buttons. So depending on how you're working, you can set these up. So one of these I have set to go between photo and video. And I had that for yesterday because it was down at the wedge and I had these big waves. I wanted to shoot video of those waves, but then I also wanted to be able to shoot photographs. Now, I could change that configuration to something else if I'm in a different situation. So that's a nice thing about being able to configure the buttons. You can set it up for what you're going to be doing with the camera. And in the second one, I've got that to actually lock the gimbal. So that's a setting. You can choose the right button and you'll see lock, unlock gimbal. So if you turn, notice that the camera will move in the direction that you're pointing. So the gimbal is doing that. So if you set that and then you tap that button, notice what happens. I'm turning it, it's locking that camera. So the camera is actually stable. I'm moving the body around and I'm looking on the screen and it's completely stationary. So what it's doing is it's locking that camera in so you can do movements from side to side and get some parallax, up and down obviously, so you're changing position. Or you can move into the subject by walking forward or walking backwards, and it's not going to move from side to side, it's going to keep it locked, which is a really great mode for a lot of shooting. And then of course, when we unlock it, I can pan. So as I pan, now the camera's going to pan. It's going to go the other way. For those of you who are not familiar with a gimbal, it's basically, we have 3 axes of movements. We have the tilt axis where it goes up and down. And there's a motor here on the side, which stabilizes that movement. That's our tilt axis. Then we have our pan axis, which is side to side. And you can see there's the second motor on the bottom. Then there's the third motor, which is the roll motor. When we go side to side here, notice that see how it kind of tilts it that way? That's the third motor here. Okay, so when you lock this gimbal down, notice what it does is it holds the camera stable while the gimbal moves around. So there's a couple of useful things about using a gimbal. One, you might be stationary and just taking shots. And you could slowly move the camera. And as you move the camera, notice that the head moves with it. As you move the body, notice that that camera moves. So you could do very stable pans. Not just that, but you could actually just stay in location and even zoom in a little bit and then get beautiful stable footage without a tripod. As you know, there's many places you can't use a tripod. And then there's also just the inconvenience of setting up that tripod. Now this is kind of understated because most of the time you see a gimbal, you see the motion shots. But it really has a huge advantage in those still shots, especially when you zoom in. It gets very, very hard to hold this stable. And if you've ever handheld a camera, you'll notice no matter how carefully you hold it, you're still going to get a little bit of shaking. It's going to be almost impossible to get a smooth shot. But using this gimbal, we can definitely do that. Now, that's a stationary shot where you're letting things happen in front of you. Then we've got the motion shot where we're moving. So we actually want to come in close on something. Or we want to follow something. Or we are moving. So one shot is where, you know, the camera's staying still and maybe we're using a little joystick to kind of move the camera, but then there's the one when the entire person or the viewer is now being moved through space. So if we go to gimbal mode and we can choose roll lock. So roll lock will stop it rolling. So here you've got 2 axes of movement. You've got tilt and it will follow you, and you've got pan, it will follow you, but it locks the roll, which means that you're not getting the FPV kind of thing, which most of the time you don't want that. Then we can go roll and tilt lock. So roll and tilt lock will enable this camera to pan, but it's not going to go up, it's not going to go down, and it's not going to roll. And this can be really useful when you just want to keep everything stationary, or you want to keep everything framed within this area, and you want the camera level, but you want to be able to pan. So you can move around, you can pan side to side, and it's not going to go up or down or get any of that side to side movement. So that's a very, very useful mode that I use a lot. And then we have FPV. So FPV, now notice as I turn it, now the camera turns with it, and it can move wherever I move that camera, the camera's just going to follow it. And so the FPV-V is an interesting mode. This way the camera stays perpendicular with the handle. So if I turn that way, it'll move quickly that way. If I tilt up, it'll go up. Yeah, so no matter how I move this, it's going to stay locked with the handle position. And so this gives you a lot of freedom to just really get a lot of different types of shots. And as far as moving the camera around, if I triple click on the joystick, it'll flip around. Triple click, it'll go the other way. Now, one of the things to be aware of is if I go to the left, notice there's a gimbal limit right there. If I go the other way to the right, this will go all the way around. And by the way, you can control this panning speed. I'm just using the joystick. So just bear in mind that movement before you're framing your shot. And then as far as up and down, we can tilt down quite far, and we can tilt up all the way up, and actually a little bit beyond. So you could shoot straight up if you wanted, or put the camera this way. But one of the things it won't do is continuously go around and around. So it's kind of starting here, and it goes all the way around back to there. So just, this is where all your movement is happening. Oh, by the way, just double tap to recenter the camera at any time. The other thing is, when we are using something like this and we want to have audio, I think audio is very important. So there's actually 3 different ways of doing audio. One, it has a built-in mic. It actually has 2. It has stereo mics built in, and it has a wind filter built on top of it, which actually works really well. So this is all automatic. You don't have to put that on there. The second way, as I told you already, when you pop this off, you've got a microphone here. So even when you're far away from the camera, you can record. And I'll give you audio examples of that. It works with the Insta360 Mic Pro. And this is really nice. I've done a separate review on that, so I won't get into it. But the thing that's really cool about the Mic Pro here, this is part of the Creator Kit. So I have the Creator Kit. This actually comes with that. Or you can get it separately, but it has an e-ink. So you can put your own logo on there or whatever you want really on there. This is magnetic. I can just put the magnet under my shirt, snap it on wherever I want. And this has a 3 mic array. So I can record in stereo, or I can do different things with this mic. Same with it here. I can control it through here, and this mic also works in those same modes. So I could be using this mic or the built-in mic. And then I can work in cardioid, which is like directional, probably what you're going to be using a lot when you're vlogging, because it's going to kind of keep away a lot of the background noise. Plus it has AI noise reduction built in. Okay, so right now I'm testing this for vlogging, and I'm just walking, and I'm also using the wireless Mic Pro here. Obviously there's a lot of noise going on around me, so we can hear all of that. So I don't have the noise reduction on. But right now the sound is also in Omni, which means it's picking up from everywhere. Let me change the settings. So right now I've changed it to cardioid mode, which is more directional. So it shouldn't be picking up as much background noise as before, but we'll see how that looks. I'm going to test now is the noise reduction. So apparently if I double tap here on the mic, that will turn the noise reduction on or off. So see what that sounds like, and let me double tap again. And I'm curious if that made any difference at all. And the microphone also supports 32-bit float, which means that you can't clip the audio. It can't get too loud. It gives it a whole ton of overhead, and you can record it internally. So if something happens to the sync or there's interference or something happens to the audio that you've captured, you have a copy of it right on here. So here's another one that's interesting is we've got gesture controls. So if we turn these gesture controls on, okay, so let's put this here. So when gestures are on, if I put my hand up, it starts recording video. So it's recording right now and it's tracking me. If I want to stop, put my hand up again, it's done. Notice it's not tracking me anymore. If I want to do a photograph, peace sign. So you don't have to take the screen off to work remotely. So as someone that does a lot of solo shooting, this is really handy for me to be able to start and stop this, you know, without having to walk up to it, turn it on, and then come back. I love these kind of features. So what's my conclusion? I can honestly say I am loving this little camera. I'm having so much fun with it. Just all the different creative things I can do, you know, like I can position it anywhere, snap that screen off, I can shoot photos, videos, slow motion. It's just, I'm just beginning to explore. So I'm actually really excited to continue exploring with this, even though I've been using it for about a month now. There's just so many other things I want to try. And so keep an eye out for more videos from me. I'm actually going to do some tutorials more in depth on some of the different features and different ways of using this camera. So let me know in the comments underneath what you'd like to see me cover as far as, you know, some of those different features. So I hope you found this video useful. Let me know in the comments underneath. If you're new, welcome to the cafe. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You won't miss any of my videos. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.